Dummy Switch Pod, episode 13. Back in the building.
There we
How are
go.
you, Chris?
Good in new quarters. Lucky number 13. Happy New Year. I even have a bit of the sponsors brew with me.
Still
It's been
celebrating. Happy New Year's.
I'm in that mood. I'm even wearing my vest. I'm relaxed.
Still feeling festive.
always, Courts. How's it going?
Giving you guys that unfiltered rugby chat. Let's get into weekend's games. Lions playing first away at Mbombela.
Ooh.
I felt this entertaining game, very entertaining game. I felt like, there was high stakes and drama in other places, but I think this one
Yeah,
for entertainment was good.
Yeah, this one was good value for money if you looking for entertainment. Again, Pumas unlucky in terms of, I don't want to say unlucky. I just think one thing is that was highlighted again in their game is the ability to be consistent for an 80-minute performance. They had the lead at halftime. Lions came out and just they just blew them out the water. And credit to the Lions. The Lions are just clinical. They're lethal. When they're
they always
attack,
feel in control.
Yeah, they looked in control. I think for a brief moment you would have thought if you're the Pumas, you didn't want that first half to end. Because that was their best window that they had to sort of put more points on. Because right after that, they're really outplayed by the Lions.
I mean, if we're talking about taking the lead first minutes, scrum, front foot ball, over for the try. Makondwana, the pop to Engelbrecht, that was brilliant. I think they showed that throughout the game that skill. So it looks like something they've been working on. Good front football by Obi taking on Jacobs. I mean, taking on Pina. Sorry, Landsberg as well. Big carry.
I thought besides even his carries, even in the lineouts, Landsberg was a real threat.
Yeah,
He was a nuisance. The Lions certainly didn't have it all their way, up front. And credit to the Pumas. I mean, geez, for them, it's another one that they'll feel just got away from them. And I guess depth and things like that will come into question for them.
I mean, yeah, like you said, Landsberg, big game. His home union. I think he's on loan, if I'm not mistaken. Big game from him. They were able to build phase, and it's something that playing against bigger unions, sometimes that's what these guys struggle to build phase. Sort of getting out muscled at the rucks. It wasn't the case here. They were able to hold onto the ball. They're able to play a bit, even in the opposition 22, holding onto the ball. So, I mean, it was a good showing from them. Lions hit back almost immediately. Vian Herbst got a start, and from that kickoff, he was on the ball there. I felt he had a decent game. Led to the maul and the try. Lions throughout this one, you could see that playing style. They've always got that playing style, running the ball. What I liked about this game was the amount of times that the ball reaches the wing, where you don't necessarily see that in other games, where under pressure, it makes it all the way.
Look, and you have to credit the skill execution under pressure, even particularly from the Lions. I think the Lions have really, that's what they've shown us over the years, is their ability, even under pressure, to let that ball move, to essentially let the ball do the work and have great movement off the ball from their backs, strong forward carries. Willem Alberts, for me, again, he's just, look, he doesn't do anything flashy. He just stands out in terms of the hard work that he does up front, his carries, his defense as well. Then you've got your Vincent Chituka there on the blind side. Look, for me, this Lions team really, like we said, it just felt like, we said this a few weeks ago, that they just seem to be clicking into gear at the right moment. And they're really looking, like what you said, control. They're really looking like a team that's in control of, this is how we want to play, even if the opposition throws something at us, even if we fall behind on the scoreboard, we're not going to panic, we're not going to be flustered, we're just going to do what we do. And I mean, easily, if you had to think about it, if you had to take them back probably to early rounds of Currie Cup or Super Rugby Unlocked, and they found themselves in that position against the Pumas, I think they perhaps maybe would have struggled to get out of that situation, being
Yeah.
behind at halftime, because they wouldn't have gelled, So
They
the
didn't have
growth
the
of,
cohesion then.
yeah, and the growth of that squad together is just, look, it's outstanding, and they seem to be, coming together at the right moment.
I mean, the Pumas, they did keep them out, they did keep them out. They landed up taking points, kicking for goal.
Yeah,
Swanepoel looks to have taken over with that.
yeah,
His performances are just growing and growing. Um, I mean, Pumas as well. They stayed in the game with their kicks. Ginter Smuts, surprisingly good goal kicker. Uh, I mean, for me, I feel like they're missing a 10. Obviously,
yes.
they're missing a
But
10.
Devin Williams, Devin Williams has, for me, initially when he first moved to 10, he just looked so uncomfortable. He didn't look,
Yeah,
he didn't look right, But as the weeks have gone by with him playing consistently at 10, he sort of, you can see it's his secondary position, it's not his primary position, But he had become more comfortable enough to, I mean, to essentially put the Pumas on the front foot and
yeah.
at halftime have them leading against the Lions, and certainly in other games as well, putting a lot of pressure on other teams. So yes, they are lacking a 10, but you have to give credit to Devin
No,
Williams for
I
even stepping up.
give credit. I even give credit. I mean, we're talking about taking the lead into halftime. They had points
Yeah,
to they had a chance to level it. They decided
yeah,
not to take the points. Decided to go for line.
yeah,
Brave decision. It turned out in the end. Good for them. Devin Williams, even going into the second half, where he had problems was sort of the kicks into touch on the full and that. But I mean, in terms of taking on the line, for one of their tries, took it right to the line. Mafura cut straight through, and it's
yeah.
just
Oh,
like
that is beautiful.
they've got some real ball players here.
They do, and look, Mafura in the beginning, I think it was rust early season, because he had been on the bench and hadn't seen a lot of him. But the more he's played consistently at fullback, the more he looks. Look, he's a dangerous runner of the ball, and
I mean, even look at that try that Elric Cornier scored. Mafura went straight through,
yes,
play a bit, play a bit, play a bit. Ball comes back to him. Turnover ball goes wide. The man's thinking it goes wide. Have a look up, little kick behind. Elric
kick
Cornier through to
behind.
a try.
Yeah, that was good play. That is absolutely good play. And he's a one slippery customer. So hence his surname. But you know what? For me, look. You can't question the effort from these Pumas players. To be honest, you can just see that. Maybe a few things going their way here and there. Look, they can potentially build on this. We all know there's consistency issues, but you have to take your hat off because they contributed to a good game. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
that game could have gone either way. It really could have. I mean, we're looking at what? It's 8 points in it. It's 8 points in it, and if you're the Lions, you're thinking to yourself, okay, geez, they did put us under pressure. They were tested, particularly line out to
Yeah, I
set these
mean,
tough.
Lions couldn't come away with the bonus point. In the end, they landed up settling, kicking it over just to put it two scores. But
Yeah,
they didn't have it their own way throughout the whole game. So I mean, credit to the Pumas for that. I mean, some real ball players there. But Lions took control in
hey,
the end. I mean, look at that maul that they had Yanchis basically playing
yeah,
touch there in open space, even counter-attacking Skosan straight through. Some really good play from them.
yeah. Look, of course, and it's what we've come to expect of the Lions. So again, credit to them for making sure that they've pulled that one out the fire and they won. I think it's going to be interesting going into the last few games of the season to see how the last sort of regular game of the season before
Yeah,
playoffs. To see how that's going to unfold. You know, I think it's what tomorrow, Bulls against the Lions, but we'll get into that
Yeah.
later. You know, but I think that's going to be a big one, and that'll tell us. I think that will tell us a lot more about this Lions team, but we'll touch on
Yeah.
that a bit later.
Swanepoel getting all the points there, taking up the kicking, running support
Jeez.
lines, running up those
Look,
stats.
you have to look. You have to give him credit, and I think the other side of it, you have to also give Alton Yankees credit. You know, because
Yeah.
he's the leader of that team, and and he's not the kind of leader. It doesn't appear to be the kind of leader where he just wants the things his way. He's taking in all the information, and you can see with some of the decisions as well to either go for posts or go for touch. Naturally, he just seems like he's a guy that will always want to kick it out, for touch and let's
Yeah.
play again. But I think he's also maturing and understanding game situations to take the points that are on offer. And we are getting to that stage of the season where
And
taking the points that are on offer
yeah,
is going to be premium.
for me, I also feel like it's a situation where if you have help around you, use the help,
Mm,
you know? Don't be trying to do everything on your own. And I think that he's done that. He's recognized that these guys can
yeah,
help me. I don't have to be a
yeah,
one-man show.
yeah.
I can let this guy kick. I can let this guy do, it just takes the workload off of him.
Off of him, exactly. And all he can do, he can give his input during the game to the force to say, okay, this is what he's seeing, this is what he feels, and look, so far his decisions have been paying off, and it shows with their log positions. So, and with them essentially sealing playoff spots. So yeah, look, credit to him, credit to the Lions, and also look, for me, I have to give, and again, give credit to the Pumas, because I felt
Yeah, no.
all of their players in this game, all of them, as much as yes, the result didn't go their way. All of their players, they put their hand up. They really did. From look, they haven't had the best of seasons, but the key thing, I think, as a coach, when you're seeing that, you see that okay, you have guys that are willing to put their bodies on the line for each other and for the cause of the union. So yeah, look, Jimmy Stonehouse can be happy.
I think he can be very happy moving forward.
Mm.
Let's move on to the next one. Your boys here,
Uh,
Sharks. Sharks versus Griquas. This one, I mean, you want to talk about luck and sort of how the Pumas were a bit unlucky. I felt the Sharks were really lucky in this one.
yeah, look,
I felt like everything just went their way.
yeah,
Those those things that can go either way on the day. Everything just went their way.
it really did. It just, look, I must admit, I was flipping through two channels during this game because I was flipping through I was flipping through the Province and Cheetahs game, and as well as the Sharks Griquas game. But talking about the Sharks, I just felt, like you said, everything that could have gone right for them did go right. But at the same time, I'm still not necessarily inspired by the way that they got the result. It's one thing. They just don't look like a team that has a clear plan on how they are playing, in my view. Because yes, it is a Griquas side that the Griquas haven't had the best of seasons. They've really, I mean, they're bottom of the table. So you
And they're their own
expecting,
worst enemy. They're their own worst enemy at times, man. I mean,
at times, indeed, they are. You can see in some of the silly penalties, the silly things that are off the ball that it deters away from the Griquas game.
yeah,
But focusing on the Sharks, for me, like I said, I'm a Sharks supporter. I'm happy that we got the win, yes, but at the same time, I need to be realistic. And when looking at this team, it just doesn't look like there's a clear plan. Yes, they could have COVID disruptions and things like that, but at the same time, everybody else has had those COVID disruptions. But the key thing for me is that everybody else, and when I say everybody else, I'm talking about the Lions, I'm talking about the Bulls at least, and to some degree the Cheetahs. They at least have a clear identity of how they want to play, and
yeah.
and you don't see that from the Sharks. It just looks like luck every time. All
This
those
one looks
tries.
like it looks like they bullied them off the ball. They made sure they couldn't have phases. But I mean, like you say, is when you come against bigger unions and they imposing their identity on the game, and then you can't really do this to guys that are Springboks.
Yeah, exactly. And look, that's where we're gonna I think we'll find ourselves wanting, especially going into the playoffs. But again, there's some good signs that you can pick up, or good things that you can pick up. At least I think Werner Koch is slowly starting to find his way in 15s to have a bit more of an impact. From a carrying perspective. Farsi, look, that
Fussy back, yeah.
yeah, his quality. You cannot, you really cannot discount the quality that kid brings to the game. And I just feel, obviously he's finding his way back, but with time he is going to find form, and should he stay injury free, I think he's going to prove to be lethal again, as he was in early 2019 Super Rugby. And then moving on, when you're looking at, again, I was uninspired by our centers. I just felt like they just seem a bit too passive, man.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand he's a Springbok, he's won a World Cup, but for me, they just seem too relaxed, too passive. And then you have the man, Yao. Oh my goodness, that's a hard man.
Yeah.
That's a hard man. You saw that try that he scored. Look,
the way the man bounced off of him.
Veritiam was there to make the tackle, but that guy, he's just, for me, just from looking and watching on TV, he's just too explosive. I believe even the commentators are saying he's a former triple jump athlete at school and 100-meter athlete, and it explains that explosive power, to get that finish.
Yeah.
For me, he's one of the standouts, and he's showing his finishing prowess. Again, you see a guy like JJ van der Mesh, he certainly threw his weight around, and I think it goes back to what you were saying about them bullying the Griquas at the breakdown, because that's what is happening in terms of them getting that turnover ball, because they own ball, but they were getting pushed off it like.
That's one thing, they were good in counter-attacking. That's one credit you can give them.
Look, I think with the backs that we have, I'd be worried that we weren't good at counter-attacking, but for me, yes, counter-attacking is one thing, but how many counter-attacking opportunities are you going to get from the Lions, from the Bulls, or from Western Province, especially in a tight playoff game? You're not going to get a lot, so it's going to be difficult to rely on that only. We need to get our set piece right, because I feel our set piece is not operating at optimal.
I mean, if you look at, taking it back to, they had a scrum on the 5-meter, they get the shove on. Fussy, you can see he's still a bit rusty, overran the ball, passed behind Ben Clay.
That was comical in terms of how that played out, even from the young scrum of Jaden Hendricks. I'm not going to blame him. I think that moment actually highlights how there's no synergy in the Sharks. There's absolutely no synergy in that team. They're not a cohesive unit, and that's why you'll see errors like that. Because that is an error. They're fortunate enough to get a second shot. They got the points. At the end of the day, it's a win. It's an ugly win. Never mind the score margin. For me, it was just an ugly win, and I feel a lot of these guys will have to step up, especially going into the playoffs, because it's not going to be easy, and especially going to this weekend where it's a sort of Western Province team that is starting to build confidence and find their identity against the Sharks. So, look, it's going to be interesting. But nonetheless, I'm happy with the win. We'll take it. We'll ride this wave as long as it's going to carry on. We'll ride it.
Yeah.
We'll see where it takes us. But talking about Western Province, let's move on to the next one. Province Cheaters.
Yeah, Province Cheaters. This one was a real must win for the Cheaters. It was sort of their season on the line. High stakes for this one. Province, uninspiring for me. I don't know about you, but uninspiring for me. They got the win. They got the win, but on the day, it goes back to that thing of, we talked about luck in both of those games. Yeah. And I just feel the Cheaters were just really unlucky in this one. Franz Steyn even said he just felt like everything didn't go their way.
look, one thing I can say is my feeling during that game was, why does it feel like everything is against the cheaters? Why does it feel like there is, look, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but why does it feel like for all the guys that are in the Rainbow Cup, decisions from a refereeing perspective, I'm not putting it on the referee, I'm just saying they just seem to go their way, at the expense of the teams that are not necessarily in the big four. And we saw that with some of the plays, even in that game, where it just looked like they were looking for any reason to get Western Province into the game or to keep them in the game, especially after the Cheetahs came back and scored 19 unanswered points and took the lead.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like Western Province were being essentially played back into the game or blown back into the game by the referees. So, look, I'll just leave it there uh, and agree with you and say the Cheetahs were definitely unlucky. I don't think after the game said, look, they don't deserve to win it. Even when Tim Seale was kicking that last gasp penalty, I even turned the TV off because I was like, this is rubbish. They don't deserve to be there. They don't deserve to win. The Cheetahs certainly, the way that they played on the balance of it overall of that game. Yes, they may look at themselves and say, you can't win rugby games coming from behind. You can't give away cheap points by making silly mistakes, of which I felt in some parts they also made silly mistakes and they gave Province. They gave them a window,
Yeah.
and look, you have to give credit to Western Province as a as a poor side that they are and an uninspiring side that they are. They at least were able to capitalize and put the points on the board and
That's
come
the
away with the
thing. I
win.
mean, you look at they get saved by that front row a lot. They get saved by that
Oh,
Bok front row. Bowen Fenter against Malherbe, he was under pressure at times, turning from the hunter into the hunted. If you look at
mm,
weeks weeks back when he was getting those penalties, Nhunu as well. He was
yeah,
against Kitsoff. I mean, so either way you look at it, these guys, they were under pressure. They held their own as long as they could. Province, even at halftime, they were saying we didn't think the scrum pens would come this early. They
yeah.
thought later into the game it would start paying off from them. Um,
No, but those three messiahs that they rely on, they can't it can't continue. It's not going to continue for too long. At some point, look, at some point they're eventually going to play those guys into the ground, because you even saw in that game and the decision not to make any changes by keeping kids off on and the like. So you saw they were they knew that they didn't deserve to win that game, and the only way that they were going to win that game was by having those guys on the field, especially Kitsoff. And to some degree, I felt that the referees going into the game with already predetermined notion that this is a Springbok front row. These guys will definitely outscrum these guys, and immediately the picture that they see is, oh no, Western Province will be dominant. And automatically the calls will go their way, because I can argue that in some of those scrums, you could argue that no, it was actually, you would have seen Kitsoff drop a knee here, drop a bind here, hinge over here, same with Malherba. And you felt some of those decisions didn't necessarily go the Cheetahs' way. But, who am I? I'm not an official. I just have an opinion. That's all that I have.
I mean, going into halftime, Province were leading this one 9-20. They had built up that lead.
Mm-hmm.
Scoring that try from Kutsia, just an early break from the maul. But like you said, it's just pressure coming from penalties leading to that. For me, going into that second half, heard the Cheetahs coach say, how are we going to remedy this? And he said, with some harsh words. So I suppose he
Mm.
did have those harsh words. They came back. At that point, I actually felt like they needed to score. I felt like,
Yeah.
you know, Province score again, this game is over.
Mm.
And they conceded again, but that's when they kicked it into gear.
Yeah.
You
Certainly.
know,
And look, and when they kicked it into gear, they looked they looked absolutely dangerous. It was beautiful to watch. The way that they were just counter attacking them. You saw Speckman was coming into his own, Blomekes was coming into his own as well.
Reno
It was
Smith
just
as well.
unfortunate. Rainer Smith as well. It was just unfortunate that that one break that Tian Meyer made, that they weren't able to connect with Reno Smith, because I felt at that moment that would have definitely taken the game away from Western
Yeah,
Province. That
yeah.
would have broken their soul, and unfortunate for the
They were
Cheetahs.
unlucky
But
there.
yeah, yeah, look, they were unlucky, and I think throughout this game they were really unlucky. And overall, they're just an unlucky union to be excluded from
Yeah.
everything. I guess
What I liked
maybe
about the
they
side,
now,
was when
yeah,
they needed
yeah.
to up the tempo, they just upped that tempo and they just, they really turned it on. Sweel with that chip kick, guys busy complaining. Nell's busy complaining to the ref. If he had sort of stayed in play, it might not even have been a try. Trying to milk things from the ref. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. That's the thing, man. It's like, I won't lie. Like, I decided after watching that game, I decided I don't like Western Province anymore. You know, uh, that's what I decided. I was just like, I don't like these guys. There's just something about them that I don't like anymore. It's just because at first, I mean, think about it. I think we spoke about this historically. Western Province, you knew that, okay, this is going to be an exciting team to watch. They're going to run the ball.
yeah.
They're exciting. They've got characters in their team, but I'm sorry, but this group, I just don't like these guys at all. They just seem like a bunch of whiners, because I mean, look, even that one try, Timothy was complaining and say he was taken off the ball. No, it was a shit chip. That's what it was. Excuse my French, but but that's what it was. It was a rubbish kick, and it didn't pay off, and they
Yeah.
scored. So take it on the chin, get behind the post, and let's play on with the game.
I
And
mean, for this one, Willemse as well, very unimpressive. When he was defending in the 10 channel
yeah.
offsides. I mean, that's when the Cheetahs take the lead. It's like you could have really cost them. Then going on to talk about more things that are sort of dislikable about them, Blomekes, pushing Davids off, giving him a bump on the hip.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
couldn't believe that. But that's what I mean about the officials playing guys into the game, because I mean, like, really?
it was
Are we
unnecessary.
playing?
It was unnecessary.
Yes,
Yes. But
but
David's the way he looked at the ref, and it was a bit comical. It's like, I suppose you have to give it. You have to give it, but not very likable.
yeah, I mean, look, come on. The thing is, what is this? What are we watching here? What are we watching here? Is this rugby? Is this a collision sport? Or what are we watching? And what are these guys playing? If at every situation, they're gonna try and milk it. Yeah, we understand you want to do anything for the win, but come on, put some respectability to the game. The way you guys are like, nah, man. For me, look, I don't have anything against Davids. Like, I like him as a player. He's a good player. He's a great finisher and everything like that. But that was just, yes, it was unnecessary from Blomekes. But come on, man, that was at least just a talking to say don't do that again, because looking at it, and that's my problem, is that in the context of the game,
Yeah.
that's a crucial decision that influenced the game.
Yeah,
Where,
that's how they took the lead back. Western Province took the lead back through that penalty.
yeah, whereas I think a more experienced referee, or a referee that is not necessarily easily influenced, would have just said, no, look, there's nothing in that. It's just a talking to you. How can that be foul play? Why is that foul play? Because it was
Yeah,
even
I think
shoulder to
in the
shoulder.
Sharks game, the ref was more sort of loose about things. He wasn't as
Mm.
strict, even going to the breakdown, going to other things, he was sort of more loose. I think this was by the book. Can't argue with it. But Province take the lead then. Uh Bowen Fenter at this point wins a penalty, and I mean, it's looking up for the Cheetahs at this point. They take the lead 29-28.
Mm-hmm.
I thought at this point, I thought the Cheetahs had won it. I thought they had done enough. Especially that penalty came off of a scrum for them. and then they concede from a scrum.
Yeah.
Kits off doing the work. Tim Swiel steps up. I won't lie, I didn't even have faith in Swiel because he hasn't been consistent or really a good kicker. So I
I was
wasn't
hoping it.
necessarily, him and Willemse,
I was
they
hoping. I was hoping he'd miss it. I was
yeah,
just
I
like,
won't
please
lie.
miss, please miss.
Whereas I mean
But then when I saw that
France
it
Steyn 14 out of 14, 2 games, hasn't missed one.
2 games, yeah, he hasn't missed one. So again, Joshua is the golfing class, man, and it just for me this game really did frustrate me, and it made me annoyed. When you're talking about if we're talking about those officiating decisions as well. If we look at the Stormers line out, there was a line out where there was a skew throw by Chad Solomon. That was picked up on the one side. And then coincidentally, on the side where Egon Seconds, I'm sorry, but I'm naming him, he was a former Western Province player, was on the side. There was another skew throw, almost exact same kind of throw as there was on the other side of the field. And they didn't call it, and it just baffled me as to, you know, why are such things being let go? Granted, I wanted the Cheetahs to win, so I was also looking for anything that was going to give them an advantage,
Yeah.
but alas, it just didn't fall their way, But again,
It
you have to
didn't. I
credit them for
mean,
staying in the fight and really,
yeah.
trying their best to pull that one up.
Yeah, they did. And I mean, when they flipped that switch and they came back into play, it was really good to see. Guys have grown. I mean, you look at Rudolph, I feel like whereas maybe 2-3 weeks ago he
Oh,
was playing
yeah,
over that line, now he's just on that line and
yeah,
he was playing really well.
yeah,
There's guys there. I mean, look at Bowen Fencer, sort of been one of the finds of the season.
yes.
So there's some good stuff going on there. Hopefully, they'll find some place to play. But let's move
The
on to
poor
next
cheaters,
game.
they know what it's like to be excluded. I think now they know what it's like to be, but yeah, let's leave it at that. To be the minority.
We move to next game tomorrow. Preview for tomorrow's game, Wednesday game. Bulls with a nice 3.5. I think it's about 3.5 week break. Nice, well rested Bulls team.
They're
Plenty
going to struggle.
wholesale changes for them. Kept sort of the spine of the team. Nyakani's there, Nokia's there, Dwayne
Mhm.
Vermeulen, Van Staden, and I think Creel. So they've sort of kept that spine of the team, uh, shifted most of the backline. For me, in this one, I'm keen to see Stravino Jacobs. He did okay in the
Yeah,
unlocked, and I want to see how
yeah.
the backline play. Some of these guys never seen play before, so I'm just keen to see how they get on.
Hmm.
Lions, Similani back to the bench. I think is they're just resting him. Odendal in back from injury. Yanni in, Creel out. I felt Herbst did well, so bringing in Yanni, I
Yeah,
think maybe just giving him a rest. Uh, I've got Lions in this one. Lions in this one. I think by
yeah.
11.
Look,
I think the class. I think the class and not as many changes. I think
yeah.
they'll dominate in this one.
Look, I have to agree with you. I think the Bulls, as much as yes, they will be well rested, certainly. With the long break that they've had, but I think with the disruptions that they've also had in terms of consistency in squad selection, with the changes in their backline, they will struggle. I think from what we've seen so far is that teams that have come off a sort of a prolonged break, they really struggle to hit their mark. So I have to agree with you and say Lions will take it. But I think this one will be slightly tighter, because I don't think the Bulls team that they are now is not just going to be a team that's going to be easily put away, So
Mm.
I'd say the Lions will win, but I'd say maybe this one will be a tight one. I'd say maybe by 5 points that the Lions will take it, as opposed to the Bulls.
I've got double digits. I'm going going for around 11, around 11. Then moving on, weekend, obviously team sheets aren't out yet, but I mean, if we just have a look
Mm,
at the log, Province up top with Bulls,
yeah,
below that Lions and Sharks. Province versus Sharks, it's essentially just for seeding places. And I
yeah.
mean, depending on how the Lions do against the Bulls, I'm not sure about this one. I think maybe the Sharks might sneak it.
Look, I'm hoping the Sharks sneak it. Uh, for personal reasons, for personal reasons, and just because I wouldn't want the Western Province to have a home playoff match.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like the Sharks have got more momentum going into this one. I felt like they put out a better performance. Hendricks, I felt, was actually big in that game. He knows when to speed it up. He knows like a
yeah,
lot of the counter attacking opportunities. He knows when to take the quick tap. I feel Nohamba there. I'm
he's under
warning
pressure.
you. You must watch
No, he's
out.
under pressure. He's under pressure. I completely agree with you. He's my guy. He's my guy. But look, you have to call a spade a spade. He's definitely under pressure. And
Yeah.
and now going into the playoffs this is going to be his opportunity to play himself in, and reclaim his top spot. And
Yeah.
look, it can only be good for South African rugby to have young players that are really contesting and playing well. So look, I've got no problem with that. I'm hoping Sharks do beat Western Province, and as a matter of fact, I really hope that they give him a hiding. So I'm even going to say the Sharks had to go by 15.
I'm gonna go Sharks. I just feel. I mean, I look at Province uninspiring. Uh, I don't feel. I feel like Sharks, if they keep JJ Van der Mesh there and Bolly there, they'll be able to really rough them up. And
Yeah,
yeah, I'll go Sharks by 5. I'll go by 5.
yeah. I'm also going for the double digits, so around number 15. So we'll see. We'll see.
Moving on, Griquas versus the Cheetahs. This one, it would have had
Ah, sure.
more meaning, more would have been on the line. Can you imagine
Yeah,
Griquas versus Cheetahs, and Cheetahs need this to go into the semis? It would have been, that big brother, little brother with something on the line,
yeah,
and you're away from home. It would have really been something. But I suppose it's a nice game for them to end up,
yeah.
playing in the competition. Griquas, heard Berger
No,
saying
Shem.
it's a never say die attitude though. They never say die.
But they
So
will
they'll
die this weekend. No, but they will die. Never say die is okay, but you still die, so they will die. Cheaters are frustrated. Cheaters are
yeah.
angry with themselves. They have a chip on their shoulder. Rainbow Cup excluded. They've been just thrown out to the rubbish. Francis Steyn is probably angry as well.
Yeah.
So look, I think they're gonna put on a show, and they're really gonna hammer the Greekers, I think.
Especially that Kimberley pitch, hard surface, fast surface. I feel they'll give them a hiding.
Yeah.
Griquas though, Keita is putting those performances. Verity Allen's putting those performances. You could argue Penkler, he had a really good game individually, but in
Mm-hmm.
terms of one-on-one matchups, Keita was serving him up a bit. He was he,
Yeah.
he
No,
was
he
he was
was.
getting under his skin and serving him up a bit. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to see. I think someone's gonna pick him up. I just don't know who, but good from them.
Him and Verity Am. I think those two from the Greek they certainly, for me, just from seeing the way that they play. Look, Verity Am, I think he would look comfortable in the Lions setup, but the Lions, I think they're overstocked in terms of players of that quality,
Mm.
so potentially, in the Shark setup, or even Western Province. I mean, geez, if you right now, if you had to say who'd you pick at fullback, Verity Am or Damian Willems, so I'll pick Verity Am, in terms of
Yeah,
just to who's the better fullback, and a fullback that doesn't only play for himself but puts other guys into space. I mean, you saw that lovely cutout pass that he put for
yeah.
his winger. That was brilliant. In that game against the Sharks. So unfortunately, this game is going to be tough for them. They will score points, yes, but they will get a hiding and they will die.
We both got cheaters in that one, big
Yep.
margins. I
Hmm.
think also double digits. And that's it for this week. That's it for this
Oh
week.
wait, no, don't forget. There's also Bulls Pumas that's playing on Sunday.
Oh, I forgot about that one. I won't lie,
Bulls
I forgot about
Pumas,
that one.
Bulls Pumas. In a way, that's also sort of for me. It's almost a big brother, little brother, because a lot of
Yeah, they
Bulls
get
have
sent
also
down there.
sent down there to the Pumas. So look, depending on what happens tomorrow, I think if the Bulls are, the Lions will win, so they'll have a point to prove to try and maybe play for top spot and play at Loftus in the final. So Pumas will put up a fight, but the Bulls will just have too much muscle for them. It won't be a big score because
Yeah,
it's in
definitely.
Bombela. So I'd say Bulls that game by 5.
Pumas at home is always it's a good watch. So I think
They,
I mean it
mm,
depends if they rest, they've rested a lot of guys for this game. Are we gonna see those guys turn out in that one? So I mean, depending on the squads,
yeah,
I'd say
look, but
around 5 to 10.
yeah, 5 to 10 points. But either way, I still think the Bulls will still be rusty
Yeah,
because
Bulls.
they wouldn't have played for so long. So even though they would have had a game under their belts, I think against the Pumas on Sunday, they'll still be rusty. They'll make changes, yes, because this is a midweek game, so they'll still be rusty. But overall, I think they'll still claim the win. And then it'll be interesting running the semis, which we'll talk about next episode.
Yeah. And we'll be back. From me, just check Tinas De Beer's emails. I think that the Sharks paid that man off. Just check his bank account details.
Hey
Because
man,
that one, Tinas De Beer, put him on
in
notice
fact,
there.
I was the intermediary of that transaction. So thank you, Tinas. We really appreciate your contribution to the cause. We appreciate it because he had a shocker. Oh my goodness. Mm.
Yeah, and that's it from us this week, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thank
Cheers
you.
and Dummy Switch Pod out.